Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 6 of the anime series Death Parade. And I loved this episode. I just loved this episode. This is the kind of episode that I meant when I was talking in a previous episode discussion video about how the OP, while seeming to contrast some of the earlier episodes, the sort of drama and heart-wrenchingness of those particular stories, the unfolding arbitration of those souls in those previous episodes, and you have this really upbeat, almost party atmosphere OP. I said, I had a feeling that as the series moved on, we would be introduced to more of these characters and their surroundings, and we would find that this OP would be somewhat befitting of the world they inhabit. And I feel like this episode was the perfect sort of soliloquy to that idea. It was kind of a party atmosphere episode in a way. It still had the same level of drama and suspense as this series has. The humor that was, rampant throughout the episode and sort of the cuteness and the strangeness was very befitting, even though it was kind of like a stark contrast. I think the contrast was really, revolved around the characters themselves, the two souls that are brought to play a game in this particular episode, a game of Twister, as we find. You have Mayu, who is this fangirl. She is like overly, doing it with the makeup and trying to make herself look what she considers is beautiful that she sees in magazines. She is a, just dolled up and duded up in mind because of this particular pop group, this pop idol group, which, lo and behold, in this episode, as she finds herself in Quindecum, or at least in Ginty's sort of region, his little bar, or whatever you want to call it, in that whole environment, she finds herself running into the chief sort of lead guy of this trio act of like a boy band or whatever it is, CHA, or Cross Heart Attack, as the episode is titled, Harada. And Harada is this, type of guy. He's very sort of, the fame has gotten to him. He looks down upon the fans to a point, rather than realizing, he's been blinded to the idea that he couldn't be famous and have the fortune he does and be able to get with as many women as he wants to get with. All these kinds of things that he uses and abuses if it were not for his fans supporting him and putting him, into that level of fame and fortune and all that kind of stuff. So, we see him very looking down condescendingly upon Mayu as they're playing this game of Twister, which for the first several rounds, until they are basically tired and want to break, it's just normal average Twister. Although, of course, I like how there is a, pardon the pun, but twist in how the game is unfolding, because of course you have Ginty just sort of bored sitting on the sidelines, and he has, I don't know if it's his cat or what, but Mimine is this little black kitty with a bandage on one paw, and it's the cat that presses the button and keeps the rounds moving on and all this kind of stuff. It seems like the cat is somewhat self-aware, but, I could be mistaken. And it's just hilarious that once they finally get to that point of wanting to quit, she has to go to the bathroom and he's getting tired, they're both tired. This is when we see Ginty's malevolence sort of come to the fore. He's a sadist. So he really just gets a salacious, it's kind of funky, basically, how getting off he gets in mind of putting them through the ringer and putting them through torture. Even if we do find out in this episode that there's really nothing to that, it's more so imbuing them and inspiring within them the utmost of terror that he gets off on. We're not actually seeing these characters risking their lives, strictly to say, when the floor basically falls out from under them after they've gone through the elements of, massive heat and the massive cold and all this wind blowing and everything, which I loved the animation in that sequence when you see Mayu's face getting all flustery and blustery with the wind. But once they've gone through all of these things, the floor bottoms out and there are spikes in this deep, dark, cavernous hole, And so it's really about instilling fear, bringing the darkness about in their souls, as the former arbitrations we've seen in the series thus far have done, but in a way to, utilizing the fear to bring it forth. And we basically see Mayu kind of looks at herself as being so much lower on the pedestal than this Harada character. And I like that both of the characters, you know, I was really not liking the Harada guy when he's like playing the game and he's saying, oh, you know, I wish I was playing with someone a little more attractive. He's looking down on her and she just thinks the world of him. You know, you should never meet your heroes. There's a reason why that saying exists. And quite frankly, she met her hero and she still put him above herself. You know, it was kind of twisted in that. And then he tries to rescue her when she's thought about sacrificing herself. He's recalling the memory of the girl he was dating, he broke up with, and she apparently committed suicide. As a result of this, having her heart broken, and he doesn't want to face that again. We see that there is a human element deep down inside Harada. And I found that absolutely compelling. Of course, we do see Mayu does fall, and rather than landing on spikes, they're all sort of like air balloons or something, inflatable balloons of spike-looking stuff. And it was just really hilarious and really, you know, sort of comical seeing Ginty then, you know, say, well, here's what the plan is. You're dead and you've been fighting for your soul, and she doesn't care. She peed herself, so she just wants a change of clothes. And we sort of play out this episode with, once she's got herself cleaned up and fixed up, she's now wearing a kimono, looks more traditional Japanese and everything like that. Harada is just through the roof. He's like, wow, you change well, you know, and that kind of thing. And we basically have the end credits play, but then we get a nice little scene where you have everybody in the works. You know, Deckham's there, Ona's there, even Clavis, the elevator runner, is there. And we're going to have Harada put on a little show. And Ginty could not be more peeved and perturbed. He does not want to have to sit through this. And you have everyone cheering him on. Mayu is like sort of leading the cheer as a cheerleader and everything. And but we find out that because of sort of the way they behaved in their lives, the sort of carelessness with which she conducted herself, she slipped on a bar of soap in the shower. That's what led her to be in Quindecum, you know, what basically killed her and everything. And I thought it was quite a surprise, actually, that we find out Harada was killed by the sister of the girl he dumped and committed suicide. And we see that the woman he presumably slept with, it seems like that's how she got within the confines of his good graces to a point. You know, she left behind this bomb, and it says, this is a gift from my sister. You know, basically, F you, Harada. And so that's what claimed his life. And they both come across these realizations. But man, is it such a different sort of twist toward the end. There's no, you know, who's going up, who's going down, who's going to be, you know, in the elevators, either reincarnated or going to heaven, going to hell, you know, facing the void. It's party time by the end of this episode, and I have to wonder because, of course, in the OP, we see Mayu as a character within this Quindecum environment. So is she akin to Ona, going to, you know, be just sort of hanging around? Is she going to go through whatever transmogrification or whatever it is that, you know, entails turning a human into a non-mortal, like the people in Quindecum, so that she can stay? You know, what about Harada? Is he going to go up, go down? You know, is there still judgment in his future? Or is he, too, going to be part of this sort of environment? Just a frickin' fun as hell lively episode that still carried with it, you know, it did not feel at all out of place. It felt like very befitting the sort of environment and the emotion and the atmosphere of the show as we've seen thus far. It just had, you know, quirky characters that were a little over the top, but it still stayed grounded, and I think it was because of that sort of contrast between Ginty being, you know, sort of perturbed and not wanting to have to deal with these people, as well as being somewhat, as I say, sadistic and getting off on the idea of torturing them, as well as the overtopness of the Mayu character and sort of the divides come together in the way that they do, you know, the mixture in this episode. And I just was so entertained. I was chuckling and laughing out loud by the end, and just reminded me once again why I absolutely love this series, Death Parade. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 6 of Death Parade if you've seen it. If not, you know, what the hell is wrong with you? Get on top of that immediately. You know, watch these episodes and see just the wonder and awe that is this particular anime series. Best, I gotta say, of this particular wave. And so yeah, otherwise I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.